Welcome back, all you loyal Point Three people, to another exciting episode of the Point Three podcast. Whether this is your first time joining us, welcome. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on our social medias if you've been here for a while. Thank you for coming back. You know what we're about here. Today, we are talking about something a little more, I would say, serious. I nothing bad. Well, bad for some, but we're talking about the state of the MCU. If you've been following us for a while, you know we did one probably half a year ago, almost. Just kind of talking about everything that was going on with the MCU, how it felt to be a fan, and we're doing that again. Right? We since that time we've gotten a couple more movies, we've gotten a lot more real life news. Heck, even today, as the date of recording, the MCU has been nominated for its first Razzie Award because of Ant-Man Quantumania, which I think is a little harsh, to be
A little
quite
bit.
honest.
A little
But yeah, so Spider Brando, I'll throw this to start with you, and I guess the first big question: how are you feeling about the MCU in general?
I'm a bit queasy on it, you know? It's like we want it to hit. We want it to hit as hard as it did in Phase 3. But it's not quite hitting that hard. I've been talking to a lot of my friends that I usually go see these Marvel movies with in retrospect of these past like years of movies, and we haven't had as much fun coming out of these theaters as a group as we used to. At least like an overall group experience. I've always been enthusiastic, and you guys have heard my critiques for everything that we've ever talked about. But when they pointed that out, I'm like, they're kind of right. It's usually only been like me and not like the entire group that's always as hype with content regarding MCU. So it's all sad, but they need to get their shit together. And I think this year, with the lack of much MCU content compared to the last 2-3 years, will help Marvel regain the spotlight a lot as long as they play their cards right and listen to the feedback that Phase 4 and Phase 5 has gotten so far.
For sure. Lou, how about you? Because I know for you personally, right, it's been harder for you to kind of keep up the good fight of defending.
I mean, that's a realistic thing that I think a lot of people don't take into consideration. And people like, it's just a TV show, it's just a movie. Then you're not going to have this conversation with me because, like, the three of us, we eat, sleep, and breathe superheroes. Like, that's just a part of our lives. Like, I wake up and I think about it. Think about it in the middle of the day. Think about it when I go to sleep. Have for over 30 years now. It's just the way it is. And that defending piece, I think, is a lot of what kind of goes into this superhero fatigue conversation, which again, we've talked about this, throughout some of our videos and projects of really what is the fatigue aspect of this. And as recent as December to the beginning of this month, I mean, you had What If, we watched every episode. Then you had Echo drop all at once. We watched every episode, and we were like, we looked forward to watching these things. It's not like I'm like, nah, man, I can't watch any more of this. Like DCU, yeah, I can wait, right? Nothing's going on, but MCU, that's the bread and butter. And the hard part here, and kind of where fans are kind of at a crossroad in both ways, is I feel like everyone's in a weird gray space of like, I told you the MCU sucks, and it's just like, I mean, does it suck? But then the fans who are sitting there like, does it suck? You look at some of these projects and you're like, kind of. but I know good things are on the horizon. And then you get the next project and you're like, good things are on the horizon. And then you get to the next project and you're like, but good things are on the horizon. And at some point, I guess you can get a little fatigued from defending these projects to be like, hey, the real state of the MCU right now is there really is no MCU. And what I mean by that is there is no identifiable identity for the MCU. And Hero Scroll, if I were to ask you, what's the saga about?
Yeah, we posted a clip about it. I have no idea.
Even still after Echo.
Yeah.
A big old question mark. However, I will say this. I think this sums up kind of the current state, and this will include some new things from the last time that everyone's kind of had this conversation of like where things going to go. The new question for MCU fans and superhero fans is the street level MCU greater than the multiverse side of the MCU?
Yes.
Okay, why?
I'm way
I know,
more
Hero,
invested.
you're mulling something, but a spider round. I just want to hear that quick why.
Just because maybe in a couple projects it won't feel this way, but we are a couple pretty big projects, or what we thought were supposed to be big projects, into the multiverse saga deep, that kind of letdowns, kind of not letdowns in its own way. But I'm so invested in this street level, and like I feel like because of all this investment in the multiverse, it makes me want to be invested in something newer, I guess, and fresher. And they haven't really dove deep into like a big street level like team up yet, so it's more enticing at the moment.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Like, I mean, sure, we got a Hawkeye mini series, Echo mini series, seeing potentially Spider-Man being on the street level for once, and what they're kind of building towards with Daredevil and Thunderbolts and Captain America. It's be enticing to see how those projects turn out, and like seeing all these webs connect.
Yeah. It's hard to say because street level proper, I feel like, still hasn't started. It's still getting off the ground, and for as much as we like Echo, for as much as we like Hawkeye, there are projects that have the same exact flaws that these other projects have, if not worse. You look at our Echo review, and we talked about it, where if this is how the street level is going to continue, that is not the street level that I want. And it sucks to say that, but it's true. And I think how it is of being a fan of the MCU right now, it almost goes back to like comic books, where we just want something good to hit again. Specifically, like if you're a Spider-Man fan, for a while now, Spider-Man books have not hit for a long time. I would say a couple of years now. And then in October, they said, hey, we're going to bring back the Ultimate Universe.
Hmm.
And we're going to give you Ultimate Spider-Man again. And people said, what? Why? We don't want that. And I can guarantee you right now, this book is probably is going to be the highest selling book of 2024, and is going to be probably one of the most highly reviewed because no one expected it. And it's very different from what you expect, but it's fantastic. And I think that's what the MCU needs right now. It needs to hit you with something unexpectedly good so that hype can be brought back in, because we have something like Guardians 3, which was fantastic. But I don't think anybody had doubt that it was going to be good. Everybody was like, yes, that's going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And it was. But everything else after, it hasn't been. It's been that thing that's kind of like, I guess it was okay for some, and for others, it was like, I didn't really like it. So maybe street level will be that thing. Maybe it won't. I don't know.
But here's my thing. And I feel very similar to the standpoint of the future of the MCU lies in the multiversal side of things. It's not in the street level. However, the street level is where I can envision some of my favorite characters coming up. I can see the main villain as Kingpin. I can see the heroes being Daredevil, Punisher, Spider-Man, maybe a Kate Bishop coming back in. Echo's going to be somewhere around there. The small baseline bottom tier of the MCU has the most definition from the standpoint of I know who the players are. I know who the villain is. I know who the villain could face. I kind of have a little bit of insight into the villain's motivation. Not really, by the way. But Kingpin running for mayor does not mean much at this point. You have to, the things I feel like that are exciting a lot of people are things that are completely made up, unknown, and there's no merit to them whatsoever. Yes, Kingpin could start a gang war type of thing, but you have all these characters around him that we are filling in. There's no rumors, there's no casting, there's nothing concrete to say, hey, guess what? The street level is about to tear the MCU down because guess what? Marvel's Gang War is coming out and it's going to be a movie that's going to be dropping in 2027 or some crap like that. None of that exists. And we got 2 minutes of Daredevil. That's it.
And I was going to say, I think that's the other big problem that the MCU has, but that's more of a fan issue as well, where I think everybody ends up hyping things too much, even more to a more absurd degree than I would say even last year, even 6 months ago, than when we had this conversation before. It gets so bad that when those things that people have completely made up with no merit, and that doesn't happen, they immediately label the series or the movie as trash, as it being a complete letdown for it. Yeah, as it not furthering the story anymore. I look at Deadpool and I'm scared for Deadpool because I genuinely think everybody is thinking so highly of that movie in terms of fan theories, where they're like, yo, the TVA is going to come in and they're going to kill off all the Kangs, and, such and such is going to come in and such is going to come in. And I'm not even talking about the confirmed ones because of leaks. I'm talking about ones that just don't make any sense. And they're like, they're going to come in. Spider-Man's going to come in. Loki's going to come in. And it's like, and we're guilty of the same thing. Yeah. And then when it doesn't, they're going to be like, Deadpool 3 is trash. I always knew Deadpool 3 was going to suck. It's Marvel. What do you expect?
But that's where when we just talked about WandaVision and just did that video of MCU redo, all of those things happened with WandaVision. But the core of the project itself was really, really good. And that's why I fear with Deadpool is like, that's not Deadpool's style. Like Deadpool, from what we've seen in Deadpool 1 and 2, they're not going to give you some deep layered story that's going to move you, that's going to make you like go home and like hug your family and be like, I'm sorry. Like that's not going to happen with Deadpool. Deadpool, you should laugh. You should have a good time. You should be entertained. However, that's kind of what everything's been doing for the most part. Entertaining you. It's fun. Watch. A few hours plus. Don't expect much to come from it. And it probably might not get a follow-up. And what you think it might set up, it may get answered. It might not get answered. That to me is, again, going back to that, like the fan fatigue aspect of the state of the MCU is just fans clearly, a lot of fans, right? Not every fan, but a lot of fans clearly want to put their chips in one basket and say this project or these groups of characters are going to take me back to that feeling that I got in phase 3.
Yeah.
And I'm going to shift away from Kang and the Multiverse Saga and Secret Wars, which again should be one of the greatest superhero comic book movies of all time. But like, no. I'm good on Secret Wars. Let me go Street. So at Spider-Brain, I know that you said you're excited from a Street aspect, but what would the Street give you based on what you know now, and what is the Multiverse Saga missing to make you feel like the Street?
Cohesiveness, I guess, because like I don't know. I think it's just the whole. I want to know why so much multiversal stuff has been happening throughout all these projects and some form of like connection between them, and they just won't really give us the answer and just keep on making us guess. Whereas street level, you don't really have to question anything. It's just everything's just presented there. You see Fisk, he's running for mayor. You know, he's a bad guy from these past 2 things. Or if he runs for mayor. You know, he's a bad guy after all these projects. Keeps on taking L after L. It's pretty easy to guess that
Wait,
he's gonna.
you said something very interesting that I've seen a lot, and I'm very curious about that one point you just made there from both of you guys. Kingpin is now lost twice.
Yeah.
He's lost twice. But we're like, man, Kingpin, he's the future.
I mean, to be fair, you can say Thanos lost twice.
Thanos has lost 8 times.
Yeah, he's lost
by death.
Well,
in
I
the
meant like
MCU.
before. I guess before like
Indirectly, he lost.
Infinity War Endgame. I was kind of hinting at he kind of lost when he sent Loki out there. Lost when he sent Ronan to get the stones.
But he said, "Fine, I'll do it myself." In Hawkeye,
Yep.
in
I
a
was gonna
TV
say
show.
we're hopefully. Wait, what?
Kingpin did.
Kingpin did. Kingpin
He
got
said,
up and
"I'll do it myself."
no, I'm saying like he
Oh,
fought against Kate Bishop and
Oh, yeah.
Face Echo and lost. He
I
lost.
was gonna say the difference between Thanos and Fisk is that Fisk tries to do this shit himself, and I don't know how we're supposed to deem that as menacing when he's taking these freaking losses.
But that's kind of my point. I'm like, well, the thing that feels slightly hypocritical to me about the current MCU is a lot of people dog on Kang for losing against ants, and it's not that simple. Like these are go look up these ants. They're not your everyday ants. Hello.
Yeah.
But they're like, yeah, he got busted by ants. No. And then your next Kang appearance, you have He Who Remains. Who did he lose? Oh, I don't know. And then you get Victor Timely, another Kang variant, apparently, who played his role really, really well. For me, sitting here, I'm still taking Kang as the future, what I'm most interested in, recast or not, over Kingpin.
Absolutely. And I think that leads to the other big problem is that, and Spider Brando kind of hinted at it, is that if you look at the phase 1, 2, and 3, each kind of has a neat little bow while pointing towards the direction of the future, right? Where it gets capped off with Avengers or starts with something big like Civil War or Iron Man 3. You know, it gets capped, but then it continues on with something pretty nice, you know, to look forward to in the future. And you look at phase 4 and phase 5, there has been no bow. There has been no cap to be like, and I don't mean Captain America, I mean like cap, like shutting it, a lid on it, I guess. Let's change. There's been no lid to be like, okay, this is this part. This is done. We're still trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And if you've listened to us before, you hear us say it all the time that yes, a lot of it is due to very real world stuff, pandemic, Jonathan Majors, strikes. So yes, but at the same time, it does feel like by now, if I were to compare this to phase 1, 2, and 3, I feel like we would have seen Kevin Feige come out and been like, all right, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is the updated future of the MCU, and this is where we're going. And now we are, 4 years in?
Yeah.
And we still have no idea where we're going. We've been at this for 4 years trying to connect the dots ourselves, and we keep getting certain dots. We keep getting dots here and there. And I would say those are the outliers that make us go, whoa, the MCU is good again.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we try to connect it again, it's like, crap, it doesn't go anywhere. So I guess I have to leave it alone. I genuinely think the best surefire way to solve all the problems that we are talking about currently, and maybe not all, but a good majority, and get into the good graces of the fans again, have somebody at Marvel come out and talk to us and say, this is what we're going to change.
Yeah.
The timeline that we gave you 4 years ago or however long ago for phase 4 and 5, we're not doing that. Mm-hmm. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
We need that.
If I am this Disney person in charge who is calling the shots, and I say that as someone who does not believe that Kevin Feige is the god, lowercase g, that we all knew him to be before, there is still a moment in time. Again, the MCU is not dead, right? Don't mistake that. The MCU is not dead. There's always a low point. This has been an extended low point. It's a slump where that franchise that like used to win championship, everyone's gone. They retired. We drafted some young people, and guess what? Like we got to sign some free agents. The signing is coming, and I do believe that the update of the future can coincide with the announcement of the Fantastic Four cast. The Fantastic Four, I did not believe going into midway through phase 4, end of phase 4, early phase 5. I didn't think the Fantastic Four were the answer to the MCU of kind of who can we really get behind and rally behind as characters. Thor, Cap, Iron Man, no question. Black Panther came around, and then we had the tragic loss of Chadwick Boseman, understood. And that kind of was the next like fourth outlier, in my opinion, of like who's the next character we can kind of. Doctor Strange, you can put in that camp as well. Multiverse of Madness changed it for some people a little bit, but he's still kind of the peak ace next to Spider-Man. I think Daredevil's a very close third from that standpoint. I think no matter what Daredevil does, he's kind of like bulletproof right now at this point for MCU. But the Fantastic Four will be the group that will bridge street, universe, multiverse, and be the core moving forward. Now, how long do they last? I don't know. This saga, maybe a saga beyond. I don't think so. I think that they can just make it through this phase, a 6 and a 7, and 2 Secret Wars. I think you're good. But I think the Fantastic Four will be the needle to the butt and the injection that the MCU needs of just new lifeblood. And I think that it's grown even more. I think everyone knew that they were important. Don't get me wrong. But I think they're more important now than mutants and X-Men will be for the MCU.
For sure. And I think it's because they fit the best, better than X-Men and mutants, where we've kind of talked about it before. The X-Men and mutants, we don't really think we're getting till after a soft reboot of the MCU. You're not getting them till post Secret Wars. Fantastic Four fit in perfectly to give you that group feel again that even Guardians has left a hole now after the
For
last
sure.
one,
100%.
where you don't have that group of characters. You don't have the Avengers, but you can have the Fantastic Four. You can have Marvel's first family again and properly give them the attention that I think they've always deserved, but have
Yeah.
never gotten because they are oddly underrated, I
I
think.
agree.
And I would say the first two films didn't help their case directly. But MCU wise, you can make them your focal point and really nail them down and have them appear in different things. You can have Human Torch appear in some of these street level things if you want them to. You can have things show up in anything. You can have Reed, Sue come up and be friends with She-Hulk and whatever you want to do with them. The limit with them is honestly endless.
Yep.
And the best time to do that, to announce your casting, announce what you're going to do and rework for the MCU. Excuse me. There's two spots that I would put this in. It's either San Diego Comic-Con or, which is probably the more likely one just because of past years, D23.
I agree. I would save them. I would not do a random social media post or
No.
it needs to be, we've talked about this at nauseum. The event level things are what elevates these characters and projects and all of this to the next level. Make it big. Say, hey, guess what? Big event, D23, Hall H, whatever you want to call it, some crap. Big things are coming. Feige is going to be there. Get your stars. Like, make this whole announcement feel massive.
Yeah. And I was going to say them doing this will answer a massive question that we've posed, the three of us, for Marvel, is that in 2025, you're getting DC's major response to everything you've done, and that's Superman Legacy. As of right now, Fantastic Four is scheduled for a May 2nd. That's about, 2 months before Superman Legacy. They can beat them to the punch and basically make Fantastic Four be your Superman Legacy for that year. That needs to be the marquee that we all want to see.
Yeah. I mean, if that's the case, they have to announce it like ASAP because you figure if it's May, they got to start filming a year prior to that. So I don't think we would make it to really any large convention unless they just did like a promotional thing for it.
I guarantee you they've been filming this already.
I mean, it's been super sus and very secretive for a long, long time. Even with all the rumors and leaks we've gotten, we still have yet to get a true confirmation, which is kind of odd.
I guarantee you they've been filming this in secret. And this is either they haven't or this is their best kept secret. And I hope it's their best kept secret. Because I think this is, if you want to reinvigorate a lot of fans and garner excitement again, saying, hey, this is your cast. Yeah, May 2nd, it's coming out. Here's a teaser. At D23, I think that's probably the perfect way to go for them.
That's fine. Yeah.
I was just about to say, a freaking cast announcement plus teaser at once would just make me.
That's what you need though. That's the ammo. You can't say that you have it. You got to show it. Like, fans are all about, especially now, modern day, show versus tell type of stuff. People respond to tell me and show me all at once. That is like, I don't know what to do with that. That is rare air type of stuff right there. And think about this for a second, though, to put this in perspective at this point for State of the MCU, the beginning of 2024 in January. No Avengers, which we've talked about. The Thunderbolts movie is supposed to start. Nobody has faith in that movie. And the movie is going to get crushed at this point. No Guardians. Those are your three hopes. Fantastic Four checks every single box that people want for a main hero team in the MCU. No questions. Animated X-Men 97 is going to be whatever. It's probably not going to mean anything to anyone anywhere else. It just is. I don't know why they're doing it at this point anymore. But the MCU still got some gas, all right? The fact that you can still have an Avengers team, you can still introduce another awesome main villain to your overall arc. You have all your Avengers movies, 2 that we know of. You still haven't had a massive team-up movie to this point yet. We haven't gotten follow-ups on a bunch of stuff yet. Once those dominoes start falling, people are definitely going to start perking up. And then, I mean, who knows what they're going to do with Kang? Who knows what they're going to do with mutants? But those are still like wild card X factors that people will still be intrigued by when or if the MCU decides to put that in front of us again. That's a lot. And but we'll say this. I know I kind of may have just ruined it potentially, but what are you guys specifically looking towards most for the future of the MCU? Besides Fantastic Four.
Hopefully another proper build up for an Avengers movie and the future Spider-Man 4, whatever that may be. Those are you two. Sorry.
It's okay. I'm always in favor of sharing the hope for successful Spider-Man projects. My second thing I'm most excited for is Deadpool 3. Just because it comes out my birthday weekend and it's like fun, crazy Deadpool. So I am really excited to see how this movie gets its multiverse of madness, the effect of theory crafting, and I'm just gonna learn from my experience with how I set myself up going into multiverse of madness to go into this one a little differently. So that's why I'm most excited. And like I said, birthday weekend.
Fair point. I think my biggest, like, if I had to throw out my like greatest hope, that like don't get your hopes up because it's probably not going to happen. But if they do it, then it'll just be like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing in the world. Piggybacking off of what we were talking about with like a forward announcement by Marvel Studios and Disney, flat out, it's all canon. None of this like, oh, it's a Marvel movie, so it should be a part of the cinematic universe. Like, no. Across the Spider-Verse, that's a part of it. You're going to see that in the future. Venom, that's a part of it. You're going to see him in the future. Madam Web, that's a part of it. You're going to see it. Craven, that's a part of it. Sony in, Fox in, everyone in. All legacy characters. Like, there is no guessing from the fandom who is what. No question. That is what I'm looking forward to the most, is the day where we look at the entire live action Marvel landscape and we say it's all canon. All of these characters are going to be in XYZ projects at some point. And if they're not, it's because they're dead. That's it. There's no question. There's no question about it in my mind. Loop it all up, expand the MCU. The MCU has great bones. Make no question about it. Its bones are still very strong. Whoever's directing the ship right now, you're going in circles. And you may bump into something, and you're like, good project. And you may be bumping into the next 2 things, and you're like, not so good project. We have to realize at this point that the MCU has had a lot of quality for almost, 15, 16, some odd years now. A good project for the MCU is not a good project for a lot of people because you're just used to it. That's it. We do our tier rankings and all this kind of stuff. And how many times you sit here? I was just sitting here the other day. And I was looking at stuff and I'm like, man, these are all kind of like clumped. Like, I felt like I was watching like a kid's soccer match. And I'm like, how do I separate these? Like, they're all pretty good. And like, I have to really think about how I can put these in an order. And I can just throw them against the wall and you're just like, yeah, kind of. Like, that would probably, I could pitch that to someone. They'd be like, oh yeah, sure. You gotta start giving us some stuff that is just better. It's just better than other things. Make it unique, make it different, make it make sense, but also understand that we're not stupid as fans. Like we know that this is a business. We know that you guys know that, like, your core fans are older now. That's just the fact of it, MCU. Your core fans are older.
Get with the times.
Exactly.
You learn your target audience.
It really feels that way. Know who your fans are, and the chances that you're taking, make them be better risks. Like, oh, hey, we put Hugh Jackman, Tobey Maguire, and Robert Downey Jr. next to each other. That's a big risk. We spent a lot of money on that. That's a good big risk, in my opinion. Not, let's cancel this project and give you guys something that has nothing to do with anything. Like, that's dumb. Like, don't be dumb. And that's all I have to say.
All I know is that watch this space by August, July. I think that's when D23 is. That's when San Diego Comic-Con is. Watch this space, because we will definitely be doing another State of the MCU after Deadpool 3, after hopefully an announcement of better things to come. So you know what that means? That means you have to subscribe to us here. You have to follow us on our social medias, join our Discord, do all of that great stuff. But until the next one, everybody, you know what you have to do? You need to keep watching, you need to keep reading, and you need to keep nerding out. We will see you next time.